Okay, alrighty. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my Esky channel. And for those of you, some of you are familiar with my story and the genesis of this platform. Esky actually stands for I wanted to empower, I wanted to share, to connect, to inform, and to edify. And that came about with my own personal story, which was some challenges that I was having with my health at the time, endometriosis. Um, and long story short, because I actually share my story on this platform on YouTube, and I've also done a book anthology where I go into details about what that period of my life was like. But in a nutshell, the pain to purpose aspect was going through many, many years, decades, in fact, of suffering with this debilitating health condition. Doctors not really knowing what caused it, therefore couldn't really help to treat it or to cure it. I had lots and lots of operations, many complications from the operations, and still no joy. And I then eventually had to embark on my own journey to discover natural remedies. And it was through natural remedies that I was able to reverse all my symptoms. So since then, I've become this huge advocate for natural remedies. And my feeling was if this was information that I knew about way back then, had I known all of that stuff, I may not have gone through all the hassle and the headache that came with dealing with a condition that very little was known about. It affects 1 in 10 women in the UK. It's a cause that's very close to my heart, in case you haven't noticed. And that was why I started this platform, to reach other women and to share my story. Um, and that brings us rather neatly and nicely onto my guest today. I'm so excited to introduce to you Sandra St. Sandra, welcome to the
Hi.
platform.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It really is.
It's a pleasure having you.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
Sandra is a first time book author. And similarly, it started out of a point of pain, and she has managed to turn that story around for the good, for the benefit of all those who no doubt will be blessed by her story. So, very, very briefly, Sandra had some major health challenges back in 2023, challenges that not a lot of people would actually survive. And following that, she decided to write a book called Back to Life. So without further ado, we're going to head right over to Sandra. Sandra, just for the benefit of those who are curious, do let us know who's Sandra and what do you do?
Well, I am I'm a mother. I have a daughter, who's 8 years old. I'm married and I'm a Christian. I'm a born again Christian. Um, I, I take actively involved in within the ICANN community church that I go to. And yeah, I'm a working mother. I work for a transport company and and I'm blessed and I'm, happily married, So yeah, yeah. Um, my story, it's been a a lot of trials. What I went through was something that is very, very unique, totally unexpected. Um, it's been a journey, I have to say. It's been
Yeah,
a journey,
yeah,
so um, yeah, so that's me. I'm just a working mother, you know. Um,
right.
so doing lots of activities within the church. I like to my personal hobbies. I like to, keep fit, I like to eat healthily, so yes, yes. That is me in a nutshell.
But it's setting the
And
scene.
I'm happy and I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm happy and to have that deep relationship with God and to know God as
Mm.
my personal savior and I'm happy that I did have parents that was also actively involved in the church too.
Mhm.
Sadly, they passed away, but I had a very good upbringing.
Mhm.
Um, was happy, had a happy childhood, So yeah, I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm
Yeah.
really pleased that you mentioned your faith, the church, which no doubt we'll go into in a minute.
Yes.
Um, and of course, I'm blessed because Sandra is part of my church family. I also belong to, I
Yeah.
contribute to church.
Yes.
So, yeah, it feels strangely emotional because I was kind of there, not there, but there,
Mm,
as in I was aware of things
yeah,
going on with you, your family, because we're in the same circles, right? We're
that's right. Yeah.
groups that we share.
Hmm.
We worship together. We've done things together. So of course, at the time when all of this was unfolding, I was
Yes.
very much aware of the situation.
Right.
And to
Yeah.
think that less than 2 years later, we'll be sitting here with you having
Mm,
written a book, and we're now going to discuss it and bring as much awareness to your story and let
yeah.
people know about when it's going to be published on the 12th. It's just I am feeling excited. I can only imagine how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah. Very, very exciting. Very exciting. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just dive straight in, Sandra. So let's go
Okay.
straight to the day in question.
Yes. Yes.
Take me through specifically what you were doing at the time and when you may have noticed that something was first going wrong.
Well, it all started on the day in question was on a Sunday,
Mm,
Sunday the 24th of September 2023.
mm,
As far as I'm concerned, it was just an ordinary Sunday, you know. I just remember waking up that morning and I was absolutely fine. Um, just getting ready to go to church and getting my daughter ready. Um, it was just an ordinary day. I felt it was just an ordinary day. Within myself, I felt fine, nothing, no problem at all. We went to church, got in the car, went to church, and I was in service. I arrived in church and I was singing, I was praising, I was just clapping. As far as I'm concerned, I was just myself, I was fine. And the preacher came on, and I was sitting there. I remember I was on the front seat, and something, I can't explain it, but it was felt like I had butterflies in my stomach. I felt a little bit of quivering, and I just didn't understand why was
mm.
going th why I was feeling those things, because I was listening to the preacher preaching, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, why do I feel this way? Why is my stomach, feeling like there's butterflies in it? So, but I thought nothing of it. And then it was only when the service finished,
Mm.
and normally I would help my husband Greg put away chairs and things like that. But I found myself, I just couldn't. I just suddenly felt really something wasn't quite right within me.
Just felt ill.
And I knew it's just like something, I was quivering. I started to quiver. It's like I was shaking uncontrollably, but you couldn't see it from the outside of me shaking. It's like it was all happening inside.
Finally.
I mean, yeah. So I went into the car to sit down and to just wait for Greg to finish what he needed to do, and so came into the car. Now, as he got into the car and drove off, he looked at me
Mm.
and and he said that I was shaking uncontrollably. It
Right.
was like, yeah, and I remember, and I said to myself, you know what? If I could just go home and just go to sleep, lie
Mm.
down. I would feel okay afterwards, because as far as I'm concerned, it just felt like it felt like I was having a flu.
Okay.
When you felt like you was having a flu and, and having the shivers. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was that. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And when I got home, um, I lied down for a bit, but I felt like it just wasn't. I felt like it's getting worse and
Yeah.
worse. And
Yeah.
then the last thing I remember was I got up from my bed and then I just collapsed on the floor. Greg found me on the floor upstairs
Right.
and he called for an ambulance.
Were you conscious when you collapsed or
Yes, I was. I remember being collapsed.
right?
I remember being very faint. I
Okay.
remember sweating. I remember just shaking all over me. Very weak. I was very weak. Um, so to the point that I couldn't barely walk because because I was upstairs and we had to go downstairs to wait for the ambulance,
Mm.
um, I had to hold on to Greg to help me downstairs. That's how weak I was.
Wow.
Um, and I remember um, Greg went to next door and they were looking out for the ambulance. Two came actually. Um,
Oh,
and
wow.
the neighbor came and sit with me. My daughter was crying upstairs.
Mm.
She was at that time because it happened quite late that time in the evening,
Okay.
so she went to bed and she must have heard something, and then she
Yeah,
was
the
crying.
commotion.
And yeah, and the ambulance came. I remember going into the ambulance. I remember arriving at the hospital. I went to Whipps Cross Hospital.
Mm.
Remember waiting in the A&E section in the
Mm-hmm.
corridor actually. I remember that. And then that was it. After that, I couldn't remember.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, yeah. It was very scary. It was very scary times.
Wow.
And then the next thing I remember being um, went into a ward, into a room, a white room. Um, and then the doctor came over to me just to do some tests and, to figure out, because even then, this all happened on the Sunday night,
Yeah.
late Sunday night.
Yeah.
Um, they were just trying to figure out what was going on wrong with me, So yeah, so I was there Sunday night. The next day, which was the Monday, um, I remember just lying down on the bed and just wondering, you know, why am I here? What happened?
So at
I,
this point, were you still feeling faint, weak, quivering, or
I felt a little bit better. I
mm,
felt a little bit better, but then during the course of that day, because I was alert, I remember being alert. I remember seeing Greg come to see me,
mhm.
and they were running some tests. That's all it was. They were running some tests, I remember. Um, and but then things took a dramatic turn um, to the point where that was when they had to put me into a coma.
When was that?
This was on late Monday evening, late
So
Monday,
literally
that
24
same,
hours after you were
yeah,
hospitalized,
24 hours, yes.
medically
Yeah,
induced.
I was induced in a coma. Things just got worse and worse.
What can you
Um,
recall immediately leading up to that decision being made, Sandra, by the doctor?
what I can recall, actually, one thing I didn't say was mentioned was a nurse came to me. I remember
Mhm.
they did some blood tests, and I remember the nurse saying to me, oh no, you've got infection. That was all she said. You've got infection. And
Oh,
she
God.
said it in such a really, you know,
Disappointed kind of.
really disappointed, when they said this. And that's all I can remember. And I remember her giving me a leaflet, and it was like, it was on the leaflet, because I didn't know exactly what was wrong with me then. But I remember seeing the leaflet, and on the name, the title of the leaflet was called Strep A. So that's when I remember. And then after that, which was late, I think it was late in the evening, I think they must have put me um, into a induced coma because things got dramatically worse,
Wow.
absolutely worse.
I'm
Um,
guessing this was a decision that you had to make with your family and the doctors, right? So obviously they would
it
have been
was the
very
doctors that had to,
close.
yeah, yeah, because the infection levels, they were monitoring because I was in a room
Mm,
with so much machines, so many machines. I just remember um, seeing flashing, like lights were going
mm,
off everywhere. Yeah, that's all I can remember. I remember the sounds as well, the sounds of the machines,
mm.
and then it was the infection levels in my blood was so high. It was so high that it caused my organs to fail. You know, obviously this was said to me because we didn't know what was going on around me at that time because I was like I said, I was in a coma. They had to put me in an induced coma.
Oh, oh,
So my organs started failing. My
mm.
lung collapsed. Um, my kidney failed.
Wow.
Um, it's just so much, so
And
much. It was
all of
just
this was going on while you were in a medically induced coma, the organs failing.
my organs were failing.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I just and that's all I can remember. Just just that, you know.
How long were you in that first medically induced coma for? I mean, this is something I'm sure they would have
I
told
was told I was in the first was for about one, no, for about two weeks. 2 weeks. I believe it was about 2 weeks. I was in my coma.
you. Right.
And then during that time, I was told, obviously, Bishop Wayne Malcolm was aware of what was going on, and he had the elders of the church to come around and pray. And so I was told that they surrounded my bed and they prayed for
Mm,
me.
mm.
All the elders of the church, they were praying and praying. Um,
Yeah.
it was it was really a very,
Very.
very critical time.
Mm,
And the bit that really stood out for me,
mm,
especially for Greg, because obviously he was aware of what was going
mm,
on.
mm,
Um, the doctor having to call him, which was pretty late, um, to say to come to the hospital now, you need to get here now. And so he did. And what they said to him was that they gave this look, your wife is very, very ill. And they gave that look. And they didn't say anything more. It was if they were avoiding, you know,
read
the
between the
two
lines.
words. Yeah, yeah. And that if she's on the, if her body doesn't respond
Mm,
to the treatment within 48 hours, that will be it. That was it. 48 hours I was given. So
wow.
that's also one of my chapters of my book,
Mm.
which I've written, is 48 hours, and it just gives you a step-by-step process of what happened.
Title of the chapter, 48 hours.
48 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Obviously he was very, very shocked.
Mhm.
He had to drive home, hearing the news, thinking within himself, like,
Yeah.
his thought was like, was obviously was in deep shock
Mm,
to hear that, because for him, seeing me from where I was and and to be in hospital and to say and to hear the doctors, the consultants saying to him that your wife has 48 hours, I could only imagine what he must have been going through.
I
I
can't
think he
actually.
broke down. He did broke down because it was tough. It was really tough, and all sorts of things were going on through his mind about, you know, um, would I have to arrange a funeral, things like that.
Daughter.
Having to arrange all those things were going through his mind. Couldn't believe it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and yes, that's what
And
happened.
without
And
going into
then,
too much detail about those crucial 48 hours, which obviously,
mm,
according to the doctors, was touch and go, 50-50.
yeah, yeah, yes,
Clearly won the odds without going into too much detail. The
hmm
rest is in the book for everyone to read.
yes.
Um, Sandra, just tell me when you started to turn the corner for them to now switch off the machine, so you're no longer in this medically induced state. Can you remember how it was, you coming out of it now and coming back to, as it were?
I remember, um, I remember slowly, I remember opening my eyes
Mhm.
when the infections levels started to decrease
Mhm.
and things were getting better. I remember just opening my eyes, and the first person I saw was Greg. And I remember what he said. First thing he said, she's opened her eyes, she's opened her eyes. And
Oh,
and
praise
I
God.
was so happy to see a familiar face, to see him. He was the first person I saw, and he was holding my hand. And I didn't know this, but during that time when I was in a coma, he
Mm.
visited me every single day. From 10 o'clock, he stayed as long as he could. And he would bring his music with him. He would play his gospel music, and he was holding my hand while I was in a coma. He was been doing that. And
Wow.
it was such a I felt a relief that I'm awake and that I saw a familiar face
Yeah.
around me. It really was. It really, I'm telling you, this is nothing but a miracle.
Oh,
A
yeah.
miracle while I'm here. I'm here talking to you. It's been a miracle because I was that ill. I
Mm.
mean, when they told me and Greg, I remember they told us the diagnosis that I
Mm.
had. I had strep A. I had a combination of three life-threatening illnesses.
Mm.
I had strep A. I had sepsis, and I had HLH, all to do with the blood poisoning. They kind of interlinked together. It was a combination. It was a combination. That's what they said to the
Mm.
doctor said to me, and I thought, my God,
So
wow.
you had a double
Because
whammy, but you had a triple whammy.
I had a triple, a
So
triple. I
it is,
mean, do you know the survival rate of having just sepsis alone
I
is
can imagine.
very, very low. I was able to read up on it, and I thought, oh my God, it's such a low survival rate. And it's not only that I had that, it was just I had two others and I
Yeah.
survived. And it's just an amazing. So my book really is about me as a person, my autobiography, my background, my upbringing, where I came from, you know. And the chapters follow is about what actually the day it happened,
Mhm.
which I'm describing to you. So that's also part of my chapter describing the events of what took place. Because I was admitted to two hospitals.
So I was
First,
going to come on to that. Yeah. So
yes, two
the first
hospitals. So
coma,
all this happened at Whip's Cross.
the first or both comas?
Sorry, the
Did both comas take place at Whip's Cross? Or
no, 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 no. The first one was at Whip's Cross. The second one was at University College of London Hospital, UCLH.
What prompted
They
the
had to
choice?
induce me again, you know. So while I was there at Whipps Cross, I remember being moved to a specialist because my case was so unique
Right.
um, that they needed somebody, a specialist that deals with like infections, like blood infections. So that was the reason why they transferred me from Whipps Cross
Right.
to UCLH. And yeah, so I remember being transferred. I remember being put into a room,
Mm.
and then I was they may have put me to sleep because then I remember when waking up, and I was at UCLH
Mhm.
hospital. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and
Wow.
it's thinking about it, it really does. It just relive
Really hard now.
memories of how did I,
How did we survive?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, just to be clear, Sandra, was it
yes,
when you said they put you to sleep, was that to transfer you comfortably to UCLA?
yes, yes, because I
Oh,
don't remember. I don't remember.
yeah.
I remember two hospital porters
Mhm.
being moved into another room. And I think that's probably why they put me to sleep so that I could be transferred comfortably into to UCLH,
Oh.
So yeah, yeah.
And just briefly, with your second admission now to UCLH,
Yes,
I
yeah.
understand things took a different turn again, and that brought about another
Yeah, yeah, because
time.
the infection markers, remember I had all tubes. I had tubes going through my nose, my
Mm.
mouth. I wasn't able to eat. I couldn't breathe. I had machines
Working.
basically keeping me alive, basically. I was on the kidney dialysis machine as well. So, yes, yeah, I had all kinds of tubes. I had tubes coming out through my neck, connecting to the machines. I remember I
Goodness
had
me.
tubes come.
They had to
Um,
dig holes in your neck.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yes. Honestly, if you'd
Goodness.
seen me, if you'd, I was unrecognizable.
Mm.
Um, I didn't look like this at all.
Mm.
You know, I've had people that have actually said to me that the visitors, friends and family, they couldn't even come inside because of how I looked. Because the condition that I had affected my skin. So my skin started, was peeling. I
Mm.
had also had toxic shock syndrome as well. On top of all that, I had toxic shock syndrome.
I have heard of TSS.
So, yeah, yeah, so my skin was really bad. Yeah, I had bad skin. I had scales. I looked as if my aunt described me that I looked as if I'd been in a burnt because my skin was very dark and I had peeling skin. So, yeah, yeah. So at UCLH, the infection marker started to rise again, and then they had to put me again in an induced coma. This is for the second time, you know. Um, it was, yeah, it was very, very traumatic experience.
I bet.
Very,
Speaking of experiences, Sandra, I'm curious, when you
yeah.
went into those comas, they were medically induced. Do you recall any kind of spiritual, emotional, or any kind of surreal moments? Because sometimes people speak about,
Yeah.
near-death experience and what have
Hmm.
you. Is there any of that?
You know what? I didn't experience such a near death, no. But what I do experience was like a feeling of um I felt like my mother's spirit was around me. Yeah, yeah. I felt her spirit was around me. Um, Particularly when they the prayers that
Mm,
were going out for me. They were when they were praying, I
mm.
felt as if my mum's spirit was there, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I know she was a prayer warrior. My mum was a very prayer warrior,
Yeah.
and she was a very active member of the church.
Yeah.
And I felt that her spirit was there. I really do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is this something you would say you felt, experienced during the coma or afterwards?
During the coma. Yes. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And I just felt like a loving presence
Mhm.
surround me. Um, that's how I felt. I felt warmth. I felt like a loving presence. It's just
Yeah.
a feeling of, someone's out there taking care of you. You're going to be okay, you know. I felt so much love, a feeling of love, a lovely presence. So yes, yeah.
It's almost like you're describing to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you just had an overwhelming sense of peace throughout
Yes,
all the chaos.
throughout all the chaos of what was going around me,
Yeah.
um, I just felt that inner peace within me, and I felt loved,
Yeah.
and and I felt like it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. So, yeah, yeah,
This now brings us to the point where, in fact, you were okay and you did turn a corner.
yes.
So, how did
Again,
that start to happen? Just walk me briefly through that.
you know what? You know what happened within myself, despite what's going on around me.
Mhm.
The main important thing that I had was faith.
Absolutely.
Faith got me through without question. Because if it wasn't for my love for God, my faith, and my belief that um, that this is just temporary. You
Mhm.
know, I started lying there on the bed. I started to imagine myself going back to church, walking through the church, singing and praising God. And I pictured myself within my mind.
Wow.
It is going to happen. It's
Mhm.
going to happen. I'm going to get through this.
Mhm.
God is able to do things. He's a miracle worker. And
Yes.
that's what kept me. That's
Mhm.
what kept me faith. And obviously the prayers
Mhm.
that I received from the various churches, from my friends, my Christian friends, my family, the ICANN family, the churches that I used to go to, the Pentecostal churches,
Mhm.
they all got together and they prayed and they prayed, I've had so many people pray for me.
Mhm.
No wonder the enemy scatter. The enemy must flee. The
Oh,
number
yeah.
of people
That's
got
the key.
together as a community,
Let's bring them.
Greg set up a WhatsApp group and got all the church communities involved, and they prayed for me. And without that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here.
Amen.
I just give
Amen.
God thanks.
That's the
So
ultimate.
things started to get better now
Mhm.
because I felt within myself that God is able and He's going to bring me through this. There are times, don't get me wrong, that there were times when things got a bit too much for me because at the time my emotions were all over the place. There were times when I was up, then there were times when I was down. There were times when I felt, oh Lord, why did this have to happen to me? Why? You know, um, but I knew, within myself that, God will turn it around for me, so yeah.
You know, it's funny as you're talking, Sandra, I was just looking at old messages that were being forwarded to
Yeah.
the WhatsApp groups
Yes.
that I'm in. Number of our church family members, and here's one that, that was shared by Greg.
Yeah.
I think this was on the 19th of October 2023. The brain
Yes.
scan is clear. There are no problems ventilating her. She has a fever. She requires support for blood pressure. There is either a new infection or a recurrence of HLH. She's
Mm.
on 2 antibiotics for the fever. She's also very weak.
Mm.
Good news is Sandra is passing urine, so she doesn't
Mm.
need the filter. The
Right.
next
Yeah.
2 to 3 days are crucial. God is on the throne.
Amen.
I am in the
Amen.
storm. And so when we got this message, and I go, we're all literally rejoicing, but the prayer
Yeah.
still continues
Yeah.
because definitely, Sandra, there's power in prayer.
Absolutely.
And then there was another one that he sent a few days later. Sandra
Yeah.
started speaking more clearly. She drank
Yeah.
a lot more fluid, ate some soup, and
Yes.
he
Yes.
kindly informed me that Sandra has ordered a meal earlier this evening.
Yeah.
Sandra said Sandra starts to feel a lot better. The physiotherapist team
Mm.
sat on the side of her bed for exercise. Also, little things like her facial expressions, and she
Mm.
was back
Mm.
to moving a lot more. I mean, facial
You know
expression.
what? While I was there, you know what? I couldn't even move in the bed. I couldn't even lift my arm up. I couldn't because my muscles were depleted and I
Wow,
had to learn how to walk again.
wow,
I had to learn how to eat because all that time, obviously, I was too weak to eat.
yeah, yeah.
It was in the drip, I was
On
getting
the machine.
food, and I had to. It's like being a baby again. I had to start all over again. I couldn't even talk. Gosh, I remember I couldn't even talk. I couldn't talk. My voice was gone. I remember I couldn't talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't speak because my
You
voice
made an
was gone.
attempt to speak, nothing would come out.
Nothing wouldn't come out. Nothing would come out. I couldn't speak. I couldn't I couldn't eat anything. I could not walk. I could not even turn in the bed.
Oh,
That's how because literally it's like my body just shut
shut
down,
down. Yeah.
So
So everything had to be reawakened. You had to
yes, yeah,
breathe
I had
life.
to do everything. I had to start again. I had to learn, I had to do everything again. I had to start to walk and to, you know, um, just being able to just to sit up in the bed was like an achievement. It really was. And I remember being very happy again,
Yeah. Making
And
progress.
I'm making progress. Each day I started to get a little stronger,
Okay.
stronger. The wires were eventually being removed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was taken off obviously I was taken off the oxygen machine. I also had two blood transfusions as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I had two blood transfusions. Um, so yeah, each day I was getting better. I was getting better.
Slowly but
Things were
surely.
being removed. I was getting more freer.
Yeah.
Um, and and I remember my first walk. Oh man, that was something.
Wow.
I although I had a walking aid,
Right.
you know, to help, but just to take those first steps,
Hmm.
it was such an amazing feeling. It really
Wow.
was. So I really thank the physio team as well. They were brilliant. They were great in getting me, to getting my strength back, you know.
It has to be said, Sandra, and obviously, having the team around you, having a great medical team
Oh yeah, they were
makes
brilliant. They
a
were.
huge difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Even the medical team were astonished at my recovery. The
I'm sure.
consultants were amazed at my how I recovered
I'm sure.
because um they've seen what
Mm,
what was going on and
mm,
to survive that. you know, even I remember one of the consultant even said to me, and I was taken aback. He said, it's a miracle that you're here. It's a miracle. The consultant said those words. It's a
Nothing short of,
miracle. You
nothing short.
know, yeah, yeah. So
To be honest, Sandra, I
so the
mean,
doctors did all that they could. They did their very, very best. And they were brilliant. They were a great team.
yeah,
But I know who the one that actually did it for me. The unseen, yes, God was working behind the scenes and he did it. He did it.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
all praise goes to him.
All the praise goes to
But
him.
for him being in the midst of all of that, in the surgery, the
Yes,
theater, the ward,
that's right. Absolutely.
remaining in control on that throne,
Absolutely.
like
Yes,
you said. But for
absolutely.
him, we wouldn't be here today having this
It,
discussion.
no, absolutely not.
It
I
is
would
nothing
not be
short of a
here.
miracle, Sandra, because it just reminds you about how remarkable the human body is. I mean, yeah, we
Yeah,
know we're
yeah,
created by a remarkable being, but
yeah,
honestly, for you to have hit rock bottom, because literally, from what you've described,
yeah.
everything was shutting down in your system.
My body was shutting down.
Your body was shutting down,
Yes,
your
yeah.
organs were failing.
My
You
organs
were
were failing.
dealing with all of these challenging conditions. I mean, I have heard of TSS, toxic shock syndrome. I've
Yes,
heard of sepsis and the others.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot to have to be dealing with.
yeah. It was a lot. It
And
was a
so for
lot.
you to have come back from rock bottom and slowly but surely made your way back to life,
Yes, that's right.
it really is a miracle
It is
or divine
nothing
intervention.
short but a miracle while I'm here today.
Honestly,
And imagine the doctor saying, you've got 48 hours.
I can't.
48 hours, they've
I
given me 48 hours.
can't.
But you know what? God cancelled that 48 hours. He cancelled it.
That
He put
should have
an
been
end
told.
to it. He
Mm.
said, no, there's a reason why I'm here.
Mhm.
There's a, God has a purpose for my life, which is why I'm still here.
It sure does.
Yeah, yeah.
It sure
And
does.
I'm so, so, so happy that, you know, um, it's been a battle.
Mhm.
It's been hard. I'm not saying it's been easy. It has been hard. It's been very traumatic for me as
Sure.
well as for my family.
Mm.
Um, my daughter, I purposely didn't want her to see me in that condition because I didn't, I don't know what a 7-year-old, she was 7 at the time, I don't know what she would feel seeing her mummy
Yeah,
like
they
that.
would.
And besides, I look so different to what
Yeah.
I am now. She probably wouldn't even recognize me because I changed so much.
Mm.
And I remember seeing my face for the first time when I was at UCLH, and I cried. I cried because I didn't recognize me. I didn't recognize me at all.
Mm.
I was very emotional.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, yeah. So my book is very much a testimony of what I went through. It's
Yeah.
very emotional because I'm describing what I was feeling at the time. Um, so yes, it's very emotional book. And yeah, so I'm just the purpose of this is to just to show God's greatness
Mm.
and his goodness.
Mm.
And that's what I want to do, just to inspire people to know that there is hope and
Mhm.
whatever it is you're going through, God is able, as long as you have the faith and the belief in him, he would turn situations like this around, so yeah, yeah.
What I wanted to ask, Sandra,
Yes,
before we go into the book, and I want to just wind down, wrap up with the reasons for writing the book in a minute.
yes,
physically, emotionally, spiritually, how do you think this event, the health challenges, has shaped you or changed you?
Oh yeah, it has definitely, definitely has shaped me. It has changed me. Um, it helps me look at life in a different perspective as well. You could be here one minute and next minute you could be gone. That's how fragile life is,
What is
you know.
man?
Um, so I'm even more have a deeper relationship with God,
Mm,
and knowing that, God has kept me here for a reason. There's a reason why I'm alive.
absolutely.
And um, and it is to do the will of God, his purpose, and that is to share this testimony to people, to everyone, um, just to remind them that God is able to do all things, and he's great and he's gracious, and he's a miracle worker. He's a miracle worker, so yeah, yeah.
You touched briefly on why you wanted to write the book. You really just wanted to give him all the glory. Give.
I wanted to write because I felt within myself that I have to write about what I experience.
Mm,
The main purpose of me writing this book is really to inspire others that are going through similar sort of situation, whether it can be life-threatening or, that find themselves that there is no hope and they're in a very dark place.
mm,
I want to reach out to those that that are going through whatever it is they're going through, the experience, just to let them know that there is hope, that there is hope,
yeah.
and that there is a God that is almighty and that is powerful,
Mhm.
and that there is nothing impossible that God cannot do. So just only have to put your trust in him and your belief in him, and he
Absolutely.
will turn things around. He really will. Look what he's done to me. I am a living example
Mm.
of God's greatness. So, yes.
It kind of leads to the question I've been wanting to ask is, this thing called hope and faith is not something
Yeah.
everyone gets to experience.
Mm,
People in
mm.
different places in life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how much you are going to be inspired or not, as the case may be.
Mm,
So for
mm.
that individual out there, Sandra, who might be, they might find themselves in a fairly dark spot right now where they're feeling
Mm.
a lot of despair,
Yeah, yeah.
just down and out. What is that one thing that you might want to share with them that you think could possibly make a difference?
What could make a difference is just to just look within yourself and know that you are not alone.
Mm,
There is a higher being, there is someone mighty, there's someone who looks out for all of us, and
mm,
that is God. Just focus your whole being and on towards God, and he's able to take you through. Just have that hope in him and that trust in him, and have that faith in him. Just look upward. Just look upward
yeah,
and say, God, here am I. I'm in this situation. Please, just these few words. Just if you say it within yourself, within your spirit, within your being, just say, God, just help me out through this difficult situation.
yeah,
Because God is omnipresent. He is everywhere.
mm,
He is available 24/7. And just focus your being and your whole self and just look upwards to him.
yeah. I hear
And
that.
he listens and he knows, and he knows. Yeah,
I
yeah. So
think
that,
also from what you've been describing, obviously having your family around you, I think
That
also
helps.
the
Yeah.
little things like having a glass half full mentality
Mm.
helps you in these situations. So it's the little things, just if it's your
Yes.
family that are around you, your friends, or whoever it is that's coming to the hospital or what have you,
Yeah,
just be
yeah.
grateful for the small things. I think put your
Absolutely.
mind in such a different place that
Yes, yeah.
healing can start from that point.
Yes,
I believe.
absolutely. Yes, that's right. Another thing is it is important to have really good friends.
Mm,
Um, friends that are there for you, your family that are there for you, that that are praying for you. That also helps as
mm,
well, you
mm,
know. Um, I've had people come in and they sang for me. Little things like you know what, when you're in hospital, you don't appreciate just the little things as well. That's another thing I meant to say. You appreciate the little
mm.
things it can do as well. And just to hear somebody just to sing that, they come out of their way to come to hospital to see me and they sang for me.
Yeah.
They come out of their way to pray with me.
Humbling,
They
right?
come out of their way just to offer me encouragement,
Mm.
um, to read the Bible,
Yeah,
um, for me. And, those things, it does really does help. It may seem like nothing, but it does
it
help
makes a difference.
greatly. So, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's that whole thing about if your spirit's uplifted,
Yes,
body
yeah,
has to follow because we're interconnected.
that's
We're
right.
spiritual beings having a human experience, and if you keep your spirit level high,
Right.
optimism and all of that, your body,
Yes.
your
That's what
body's
I
going to
did.
follow. That's it.
That's what I did. I had, because I knew lying there on that bed that this is going to be temporary.
That's it.
So if you focus that in your mind,
Yeah,
that, whatever I'm going through is only temporary, things will get better. I know
that's it. That's the trick.
because I visioned myself, I had a vision in my head walking through church without any crutches, without any walking frame or nothing, just me walking into church and just
Oh,
lifting up and just praising God and giving God thanks. And I can see all the crowds.
yeah.
I had all that vision in my head when I was in hospitals, speaking
Wow.
in front of everybody and saying how God has delivered me and praising God. And I had that vision in my head while I was on that bed, you know.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that
And it actually
also
happened.
helped as well. So, and it actually happened. My
Actually
vision,
happened. I remember the video of you
you
giving
remember
your
the video?
testimony at church.
You
Yes.
remember the testimony?
I remember you wearing like a green outfit.
That's right. I had the green dress.
I remember so
And you know
well.
what? I was not nervous at all. Normally, I am not a public speaker. Most people know that I'm a very shy person and I do not like to speak in front of, I'm not a public speaker. But that day, it was as if all that shyness was gone.
Yeah,
And I knew I had to deliver a message. I had to deliver a message to the people to let them know that how God has delivered me.
that's it. You went to
So,
battle.
yeah, so I
Pure and
wasn't nervous
simple.
at all.
You went to battle. And
Yes, I
it was
went to
clear.
battle.
You had a message to deliver. That was your mission.
Yes,
And you
yes.
delivered it.
Yeah, I did.
It was
Yes.
inspiring. It was uplifting. It was
Yeah.
just
Oh,
amazing. Amazing.
amazing, amazing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I have to ask, I'm so curious though, because I know readers, people who are wanting to buy your book must be thinking, if there was, without giving too much away,
Yeah. Mhm.
one section or chapter in the book that you think would surprise people? They weren't expecting this. What might it be? Can you give a snippet?
Um, mm, well, the power, there's a chapter in a book which I described about the power of prayer. And you'd be amazed how what prayer can really do. You'd be amazed at what prayer can really
Oh,
do.
yes. I know.
The power of prayer, the
Mhm.
power of prayer. Because without that, um, you know, um, things would be a lot different. So yeah, yeah.
I hear. That's something to think about.
Yeah. That's a part of
Terrific.
my chapter as well about the power of prayer. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So just going forward now, Sandra, in terms of your reflections, having written the book,
yes,
and I mean,
yeah.
I should have said this at the start. Again, hearty congratulations on becoming an author.
Thank you. Thank you
Written
so
book is
much.
no mean feat. I know this as a writer. I know this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's so emotionally charged. It's such a personal story.
Yes, that's
So now that you've done this, in terms
right.
of your
Yeah.
reflections, how is it that you see life now moving forward? How do you live your life differently or otherwise?
Well, I see myself now just you know, just being just having that deeper relationship with God. I'm taking care of myself as well and spending more time with the family. Um, and just giving God thanks and and carrying out his will for me because I believe strongly that he had allowed me to go through these things so that
Mm,
I can share and tell everybody how I overcome and to know that God is real and and God is able and that so I just want to share my testimony um, and I've written this book as well so that so you can reach out to all the readers and just to let them know that there is hope and that's what God wants me to do. God
mm,
wants me to spread the good news, the word, spread his word and just to let him know that God is here and God is able. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's
yes,
spread it as much as possible worldwide. So, yeah, so my book is available, or it will be available on Amazon, and it will be available worldwide as well, not just in England, but worldwide as well.
excellent. And while we're talking about the availability of the book, let's
Yes,
remind viewers that the book is due to be published when?
it's due to be published on the 12th of June. So it will be on Amazon and it will be in the other countries as well, not just in England, it'll be in other countries like
Yeah.
USA, Australia, all other countries. And it's also available in Kindle as well.
Mm,
So yes, yes.
amazing.
Yes, so I'm so looking forward to that. I mean, I I really wanted to, because a lot of people said to me was, you should write a book, you should write a book. And I have to admit, initially I was like, oh, I've never done this before. How am I going to write a book? What am I going to say? Or what am I going to, is it going to sound right? Is it going to, I had all these little thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
But then I read a book that Matt Bird published and it called Yes, I Can. I read it and I thought, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to put my foot forward and do
Yeah.
this because what I had been through is not something that I cannot keep
Mm,
in myself. I have to share it.
mm,
And the one thing I can do is in order to share it is to write a book. And that's what I did. I joined a course and I wrote the book and I was surprised how easy it was because you've got to be in that spirit, that frame of mind, to write things down because my fear was writer's block
mm,
but no, I thought I found it to be very easy because
mm.
I'm reliving my experience
Yeah.
putting it all down on paper. So, yeah, it has been hard sometimes, I must admit, because obviously I went through a lot of traumatic experience and having to relive them and write it. It was challenging at times, but I knew I had to put everything down. So it's very emotional.
Mm,
It just describes what I've been through, my feelings, my thoughts,
mm,
my ups as well as my downs, the people that were around me. how they affected me as well. Um, and also, obviously, the power of prayer is in there, and how I look at life afterwards as well.
Mm,
How I moved on from that, and it's all there in the book. Describing.
yeah,
Um, it's like a conclusion, really. Where do I go to moving forward? Like you mentioned, yeah, moving forward. It's all there in the book, how I moved forward. So,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So,
And
yeah,
of course, you describe how there were times when obviously it was challenging you having to relive these traumatic moments.
yeah, yeah.
Having a great team around you, like Matt Birds, publish you,
Yes,
who were kind of taking you through that whole writing process, which is not easy, I guess made a difference, right?
yes, it has made a difference. And also being with a group of people as well that's also writing their books
Mm,
and sharing ideas between us, and it kind of prompted me to do it as well.
yeah,
Because if I had done it on my own, I probably wouldn't even write the first chapter, I'll be putting it off. But it gave me that focus
yeah,
and that determination to
absolutely.
to do it. So yeah, yeah. So I'm
Like going
really
back to school, when you're at school, I mean,
yeah.
unless you're completely, switched off, you see others
Mm.
around you who are studying, wanting to succeed and
Yes.
stuff done, it rubs off. It's infectious, right?
Yes,
You
yes.
had the presence of mind, the wisdom to know that you needed to place yourself in the
Mm.
environment to get
That's
something
right.
done. And you did
That's
it.
right.
You did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes,
Oh
yes.
my
And I
goodness.
did it. I did it.
And it
Because
must have been
there were
quite
times when I said,
cathartic.
I can't do it, but I have done it now. So I can do it
You
and I
have.
will. And I have done it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking it must have been quite cathartic as well, just getting it all out.
Yes, and that
Mhm.
as well. It was
Mhm.
very cathartic because you got to be writing a book. You've got to be in that. It's so deep and so spiritual. You've got to be in that right frame of mind, that right environment.
Absolutely.
Because you're speaking with your inner self. You're speaking. It's your inner self speaking of you.
Yeah.
So it was very cathartic as well. Yeah, yeah. So
Wonderful. So win-win all round.
a win-win all round. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
God, thank God you were able to do it. Honestly, it's been
Yes.
such a pleasure.
Oh,
Oh my God.
thank you so much. And it's nice as well to be able. I know I gave my testimony, but it's nice to be able to be to talk about it as well with you and to just talk about the experience what I went through because it helps as well with me. So yeah, yeah. So I'm just happy and I'm just blessed. Um, just living my life to the full now. The little things I used to take for granted, like, just having a shower, I couldn't,
Yeah.
little things. Just be able to get up and move, and you'd be surprised how much little things we take for granted. So,
Oh,
yeah, it just made me
that's
realize
good
that.
to have.
So the process of recovery was, I also have to mention this as well, that I am since I was discharged from the hospital from UCLA, I was went into another hospital, but to receive
Oh, okay.
physiotherapy.
Mhm.
So I was I remember just remembered being when I arrived, and the nurse was there looking at my notes, and she was just shaking her head, reading all the notes what had happened to me. She was like, "You're going to be here for months, for months." She said, "For months." I ended up spending 2 weeks there, 2 weeks in physiotherapy, 2 weeks.
Start over again.
I couldn't believe, the notes that
Wow.
what I went through. But, I give God thanks. I give God
Yeah.
thanks. And I remember the day I walked into my own home that day. Um, we purposely didn't want Amelia to know. Wanted to be a surprise for her.
Mhm.
And I waited inside the home for her to come home. And then when she walked through the living room and saw me sitting on the chair, she just screamed, "Mummy!" And then I hugged her so tightly. I didn't want to let her go. I didn't want to let her go. I just hugged her so tightly. And I just remember feeling so, oh, thank you, Jesus, I'm
The
at
gratitude.
home. I'm at home with my family and, what a
Gratitude.
blessing, what a blessing it is. So yeah.
It's that thing of you don't realize a good thing until it's gone.
Exactly, exactly. You
You're
don't.
saying about taking for granted. We get up, we just go
We,
have a shower, go
you
out.
shower, brush your teeth, or
We
you
don't
do
think
it. You
twice.
honestly,
Right?
oh, yeah, so
To
much.
come to that point where you're lying on a hospital bed, helpless, like you were,
Yeah,
tubes coming out of every orifice, you're
everything. Yeah.
dependent on these doctors.
Doctors, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's when you realize,
Thinking where I'd been,
mhm,
and to now, I just came a mighty long way, mighty, mighty long way. And now I have no issues with my health. No, no, what they call it, is it the after effects? What I've
no,
been through,
yeah, like
I've
side
got
effects.
none of that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing. I feel fine. I feel fine, and then
There was no relapse, none of that.
no, no, none of that. None of that.
Thank God.
So God is good.
It is. It really
God
is.
is good. Yeah, yeah.
So this is it, Sandra. We are
Yes,
now literally on a countdown to the
yes,
publishing date of the 12th of June. Oh my goodness.
yes,
Literally
yeah.
just over 2 weeks away, maybe just under,
That's about 2 weeks away. Yes, it's about two
not
weeks.
that long to go.
Not that long. No, no. So
So no doubt once all the information is available in terms of how people can buy the books, the
yes,
there you'll be able to share the link and all of that stuff.
absolutely. Yes,
To do.
absolutely. I will share the link to everyone. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Watch this
Amazing.
space. Yeah, 12th of
Amazing.
June. Yes,
So
I will share the link with everyone.
we will do our thing again, which is once that information becomes available, we'll put it out, post it on all our platforms. So this
Absolutely.
is just a call to action to all of you watching. Keep a lookout for the publication of Back to Life by Sandra St. John. It's going to
Yes.
be on the 12th of June 2025. Watch this space. Literally, stay tuned, people. This is a book that you do not want to miss. You want to make sure you get your own copy. Sandra has already mentioned that it's available, on Kindle, Amazon. It's not just going to be available in the UK, worldwide. These days,
Absolutely.
everything we do is international, right? So keep a
Yes. Yeah.
lookout for the information. Stay tuned, and thank you so much, Sandra, for coming
Oh,
on.
thank you. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and to share my testimony to everyone. Thank you so much.
Honestly, the pleasure has been all mine. It's been all
Ah, yes.
it has. Thank you once again, and thanks to those of you who've been watching. And until the next time, look after yourselves, stay well, and speak again soon.
Hi. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.